In this video, we have a woke college student that says ID cards are racist. Yes, you heard what I said, okay? Look, this is gonna be wild. We got Charlie Kirk in here, so you know we in for a roller coaster. Without further ado, we getting right into it. Let's ride.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. So in the CRT literature, what do they think of white people or whiteness?
Who would you like me to quote?
Kimberly Crenshaw.
I haven't read Kimberly Crenshaw
She says that
yet.
whiteness is a cancer or a toxin on our society.
The concept of whiteness, the racial concept of whiteness.
Okay, so what is whiteness?
What is whiteness?
Yeah, define it.
As Kimberly Crenshaw would probably say, the sort of construction of privilege that comes with being white in this country.
Right, so what privilege do you and I as white people have that black people don't have?
Yeah, great question. On applications that are blindly judged, white-sounding names are often given the job more, they're paid more.
Not true. In fact, it's the opposite. There's black privilege right now. It's called affirmative action, where underqualified blacks are taking Asians and white people's places in universities across the country. True or false?
True.
Okay, so yeah, there's black privilege, not white privilege in this country.
I actually don't think affirmative action is how we address education inequality.
Okay, well, that affirmative action is still largely supported by the CRT regime. But let's get back to CRT, to the essence of it.
Sure.
CRT believes in one manifestation of its ideology is black-only dormitories. So white people are not allowed. Do you believe in black-only dormitories?
No, and I don't have to agree with every aspect of an ideology to argue for it.
So then what part of CRT do you like? Because they call whiteness a toxin, black-only dormitories, and if you want to talk about like ideological or intellectual sloppiness, the 1619 Project was...
I think it's very sloppy.
Okay, we agree. Nicole Hannah-Jones.
I think it's overstated, and I think some of the parts are inaccurate.
Okay, good.
The parts of CRT that I think are most relevant and, very factually, you can, what am I trying to say? There's a lot of evidence for them, is the fact that previous inequalities, such as the institution of slavery, such as our treatment of Native Americans, do in fact affect those populations today. And you were saying before, in inner cities, there's a lot more crime, and a lot of that is because of redlining and other practices that come directly from the mistreatment of minorities previously in this country.
So I want to make...
Before Charlie Kirk makes his point, I want to say this, okay? So you're getting this from a person of color, right? Myself, right? So you may get a bit of a different perspective, or you may not. You may expect it, whatever, right? So personally, a land that, we were brought here, right? Definitely, we weren't privileged for a long time, right? We didn't have the upper hand for a very, very long time. So yes, 100%, a lot more companies are taking a stand. They're shining voices on people of color, right? A lot more these days due to the situation that happened with George Floyd and all of those things, and actually continues to happen to this day. So I hear Charlie Kirk 1000%. I also understand her point in terms of, yeah, you do have to understand the history, right? Definitely plays a part whether we like it or not, right? In terms of why, right, people are acting the way they're acting and even choosing to shine a light, right? Now, whether that's right or wrong, or whether you agree with it or disagree with it, because I'm just stating the facts, right? So whether you disagree with it or agree with it, let me know in the comment section below, right? Whether you disagree with it or you agree with it, or you're siding with Charlie. But back to the video.
Sure, I understand. So black people make up 13% of the American population.
Oh, 1350, my favorite.
Yes, exactly. Why do they commit 55% of all the murders?
Super great question. It's basically a very complex intersection of race and economic status. It's pretty well known that minority people tend to be in a lower economic status because of discrimination that they face.
So then why don't poor Asians commit a lot of murders?
Also a great question. Asian people weren't originally brought to America on purpose like black people, and they weren't already present here like natives.
Wait, so blacks murder because they were brought here 250 years ago?
No, I would like to finish.
Okay, just answer. It's very simple.
I am answering.
No, I know, but you're not really.
I am. Asian Americans predominantly immigrate here for work reasons. They come from already wealthy countries. They're already wealthy when they get here. Crime is committed primarily by poor people.
First of all, that's not true. Talk to anybody from who's Vietnamese? Anybody? Did your family come here wealthy?
No.
Yes and no.
Not wealthy, but not.
Yes
I'm not
or
saying
no?
they come
No.
here. Okay.
The average Vietnamese does not come here wealthy.
I'm not. Okay. perhaps misspoke, not wealthy, but a lot of the, you complain about it all the time. A lot of the immigration from countries that border us, right? It's sort of desperate people who are of a lower economic status, right? And they're coming here for a better life.
So two things. Number one, there's been more blacks that have legally immigrated to this country in the last 30 years than were ever brought as slaves. That's number one. Number two, you still haven't answered the question.
I'm trying to.
Why?
It's a complicated answer.
Black people are only 13% of the population, yet they commit 55% of the murders. Why?
Because black people tend to be in lower economic statuses because of
Okay, no, this
CRT,
is fine. This is great.
Basically,
so you think that poverty equals crime?
I think that it's highly correlated, and there's a lot of studies
This is where
on
we
that.
disagree. What an insult to the working poor of
So
this
why
country.
do you think black people commit more
Well,
crime,
first
Charlie
of all,
Kirk?
so how? Let me ask you a question as
No,
my
answer it. Go on.
What percentage of blacks have a father around when they're raised?
I'm not sure.
20%.
So that's why you
80% of
think it
blacks
is.
do not have a stable father around. It is the most predictable way to end up in prison, end up as a murderer or a criminal.
And why?
That is 1000% correct, right? And I could tell you, as a person of color myself, I did grow up with a father in my household, right? A great one, a fantastic one, but I could tell you, if he wasn't around at certain points, there were things that I would do that I wouldn't do with my father was around. I could tell you that 1000%, right? 1000%. And I'm not a parent, but I know for a fact it's important to have that figure around, to have somebody around to invoke that discipline in you, right? And I do genuinely think that a lot of these young kids aren't getting the discipline that previous generations got, even the generation before me got, right? And that leads to the crime, that leads to all of the issues and problems that we see today because of that, especially in African American, and then the drugs and then all of that stuff, right? Because you don't have that father in the household. That's why, right? And by the way, I'm not saying that, I love my parents. I'm not saying that they were perfect, 1000%, but they did a darn good job. And, and not every parent is going to be perfect. Absolutely not, right? But it's important to have that in the household. Let me know what you guys think. Back to the video.
It's not a
You think that's
racism
a problem?
It's not a white supremacy problem. It's a fact that black fathers impregnate women and they don't stay around with the women
And
that they have
why-
impregnated.
Charlie Kirk, do you think that happens more in the black community compared to others?
It's threefold. Number one, we subsidize single motherhood. Number two, it's culture. It's accepted in the black community, and it
so
shouldn't
it's
be.
culture. Okay.
Don't take my
I
word
see.
for it. Read Thomas Sowell's own book on how black culture allows single motherhood to continue into a nanny state type practice. 75% of black youth are raised without a father in the home. 75%. Is that a bigger problem or not a bigger problem than whiteness, white privilege, or white supremacy? How
They
can
should
you
all
blame?
be addressed, and they're all related.
Okay, how is a white person to blame for the fact that 75% of blacks?
Oh, individual white people aren't at all to blame.
Okay, we agree.
Yeah.
So, but wouldn't it be more smarter to be like, hey, that this is not about systemic racism. Stop impregnating your women and abandoning them.
Well, the way to incentivize not impregnating women and abandoning them is increasing access to healthcare, into housing, into everything that we know increases those outcomes for people.
So we have spent $30 trillion on the social welfare system since 1965.
Wow.
Black people are poorer, and the single motherhood went from 25% to now 75 to 80%. So the more money we've spent on black America, the less fathers we have, because black women divorced black men and married the government.
And do you think that's a problem inherent to black people?
No, it's not. It's happening now in white communities and Hispanic communities. It's just the worst in black America.
And why do you think that is?
Why is it the worst in black America? There's also a cultural problem. There is, and we have to be honest about it.
It's just that black people are
No, let me ask you.
All right. So here's where I'm going to be able to provide insight that not even Charlie would be able to provide to you. And here it goes, right? It's because this was destroyed. This was destroyed when they set us free. This was gone, right? In fact, actually, and I don't know the specific statistics, right? But even when the slaves were set free, some of them actually went back to the plantation, right? Well, obviously because they didn't have, where were they going to go, right? For work and things of that nature, right? And some of them went to be handyman and things of that nature, right? To do different things. But this was destroyed. This was gone. We didn't have this, right? This is how you can control a nation with this, right? And when I do this, I mean the way you think. Because that determines everything, brothers and sisters, 1000%. The decisions you make from when that sun sets to when it goes down. That's one of the main reasons. So when you destroy this and you take this away, freedom of thought even, right? When you can control that piece of it, it's done. That's it, right? That's the real reason why it is like how it is today. And Charlie Kirk, I agree with a lot of what he's saying. A lot of what he's saying is fact as well, right? But also where I'm going to correct him again is just real quick before we get back to it. Spending, so he said something like we spend more money, but it's not fixing the problem. But because Charlie, that's not going to fix the problem, right? And by the way, I agree with Charlie with a lot of his points. Okay, I want to let you guys know. But I think maybe he could even agree that that can't fix the problem, right? Because you can't buy that. Right? The damage has already been done. So moving forward, we get the fathers in the household. Back to the video.
And the average music that a black person in Compton is listening to, is it about contemplating the good, the true, and the beautiful, or is it about being a gangbanger and trying to get as much money and sleep with about as many girls as you can?
I would actually like to think I would be offended by that.
Do you think the average black kid in Compton is listening to Beethoven or some sort of gangster rap music that glorifies gangster culture?
Silly question. Rap wasn't created to glorify gangster culture. So even though there is rap, I'm sure that's doing that.
You're dodging the question because...
Okay, I'm sure they're listening to rap.
Okay.
So you think rap music makes them leave their mom?
Do you think the cultural expectation in black America is that you stay with the woman that you impregnate?
Within black communities? I can't speak on that.
Okay, the answer is no. It's not. It's not expected.
Okay, and do you think that
hold on, in white Anglo-Saxon Protestant communities,
okay.
It's a fact. Hold on. In upper middle class white communities.
Upper middle class. Say that part louder.
Yeah, upper middle class white Anglo-Saxon Protestant communities, if you impregnate a woman, you are looked down upon and we do not think highly of you if you abandon the woman that you impregnate. Mm-hmm. That's a cultural difference. Has nothing to do with money. Has nothing to do with anything except norms. And the norms that have infected black America are destroying it from within. We need more fathers, not less. We need more dads around and less drag queen story hour. We need more young blacks to be able to look up to role models that are not leaving all the time and are not just saying, hey, I impregnated her, so be it. It's a toxin, and if we don't address that as the root cause, it's white supremacy, it's injustice, it's economics, we're dancing around the core of the issue.
I guess what I'm saying is, right, and you've perfectly actually laid out the dichotomy here. It is a fact, obviously, that black people disproportionately commit crime in this country. No one's arguing that. But you either believe that that is due to a complex intersection of social, economic, and leftover effects from previous inequalities, or you believe that that is an inherent trait to the race.
No, I don't. Because they weren't that way in the 1940s and 50s. Black America was one of the most peaceful, flourishing, fastest growing economically communities in the country. It's not genetic. You're trying to point something on me that I don't believe. Instead,
but then
Black
you do
America,
believe that it's not genetic, so you do think CRT is correct.
Hold on a second. In the 1940s and 1950s, Black America was prosperous and was on pace to be richer and wealthier than white America. More dads were staying with the women that they were with. There was monogamy. What changed?
You're supporting my argument.
No, hold on. But answer the question. What changed? Did America get more racist since the 1950s?
I would argue there were more racist policies passed. There were more policies dedicated to lining off those communities and pushing them into poor housing and poor schools.
Wait a second. In the 1950s, Jackie Robinson had not even broken the color barrier. We had Jim Crow laws. We hadn't passed the Civil Rights Act, and we hadn't passed the Voting Rights Act. Yet blacks were better in the 1950s per capita than they are today. So we have become less racist. We've passed more anti-racist laws and given more stuff, and blacks are worse than they were 70 years ago.
Yeah.
Why?
So you're equating here institutional and social racism. Social racism was certainly worse in the 1950s. I'm sure everyone would agree. But institutional racism occurs when policies are
Hold on.
passed against people.
Come on.
Which can increase over time, and it did.
You're not being intellectually honest. You know that. There was black-only drinking fountains in the 1950s. We don't have those anymore. Well, we're bringing them back with, black-only dormitories. But we had, for example, in the antebellum South in the 1950s, we had white-only communities, white by law. We got rid of that with the Civil Rights Act. But it didn't, unfortunately, we look around, the numbers speak for themselves. Black youth are less likely to have fathers. They're not doing as well as far as economically. They commit more crimes. So something changed. And our argument is what changed is three things. Number one, the imposition of the Great Society Project by Lyndon Baines Johnson of spending $30 trillion since 1960s on Section 8 housing, on welfare, on all sorts, where, as I said, that young black women married the government and they divorced young black men. And then we also have had as Thomas Sowell and as Clarence Thomas would say, the soft bigotry of low expectations. And we have been afraid to get to the root of the issue or even speak about it because we don't want to be called a racist.
So what is imposing those low expectations?
Part of it is like white academic culture. I'll give you an example. I'm not saying you believe this, but Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, has come out and said having an ID to vote is racist. That is code for saying black people are too dumb to get a voter ID.
You're doing it again. You're simplifying a very nuanced, complex argument from the real people who are making it.
Is voter ID racist?
Obviously not, Charlie.
Okay, all right.
Do you want to know where the argument comes from? I can eloquently tell you.
Eloquently tell me why voter ID is racist or whatever.
Certain policies in southern states were proposed that would, I think the quote from the person who decided the case was, with surgical precision, target the times where black people were voting and make it illegal or harder for them to get that to come at that time. And then they were targeting the type of ID that black voters had and making that specific type of ID illegal. That is racist.
Perfectly fair. How does that impact today, saying that every citizen, if you need an ID to vote, just that aside, why is it racist?
Because we have to have, obviously humans are making those decisions, right? And so if there is still institutional racism and people in power that are racist, we can't trust those institutions to make those decisions without discriminating against people.
What institutional racism do we have in this country right now?
What you just named it.
What?
1350.
Okay, well, I mean,
affirmative action needs to happen because there is not that many minorities in these higher educations or higher education institutions.
Okay, so you're being clear, which is then you lower standards.
No.
Affirmative action always does. Affirmative action lowers standards by definition.
I'm saying why affirmative action was introduced. I'm not arguing for it.
Were you asking me why it was introduced, or?
No, I'm saying you agree that's why it was introduced.
Well, I agree why it was. I don't think it ever should have been, but yes.
Right, but there is institutional inequality, yes?
Well, I wouldn't even use the word inequality. I mean, I don't love looking at it that way, but of course, white people generally are richer than black people in this country.
Richer and more represented in politics and schools, yes?
Somewhat yes and no.
Why do you think that is, Charlie?
Well, hold on a second. Let's ask the question here. Represented how? So, I mean,
look at Congressman.
So, no, hold on a second. Are white people represented fairly in the National Basketball Association?
Who cares? What political power does the national...
Hold on, I thought we're all about fair representation.
Listen.
I think that it should, by law, half of the NBA should be white.
Great, fine.
And the product would suck.
Lobby for it.
Because
I don't
blacks
care.
are much better at basketball than we whites are.
What political power does the NBA have?
A lot, actually. The NBA reaches millions of people every day. They have slogans that people internalize. In fact, if the NBA had no political power, why would they have to wear Black Lives Matter on all their jerseys? Why would politicians try to get their endorsements all the time? The NBA is more powerful than Congress in some ways of shaping the minds.
I think it's your turn to be academically dishonest.
Hold on
now,
a second.
but sure.
No. But if you want fair representation, just to be clear, then why would you not be against whites by law being half of the National Basketball Association? Right now, black people make up 88% of the NBA.
Do it, great. Who cares?
No,
I don't care. I'm saying,
okay.
Right, so here's my point.
All right, fine. I have a shot, everybody.
Please listen.
I could play for the Lakers.
I hope. Do it, Charlie. I'll come to your games. I'll do it.
The point is this, is that merit should triumph over all of it.
Which is awesome. Okay, so merit should triumph. We agree.
Okay.
Okay, Charlie, do you think black people are not as smart or competent as white people? Perfect.
No.
So they should, in theory, then be equally represented in positions of
but
power.
No, hold on. So have you ever read Discrimination and Disparities by Thomas Sowell?
Do you only read Thomas Sowell? You've quoted him like 3 times. I haven't read
no,
that.
I read a lot more than Thomas Sowell, but I'm happy to. Thomas Sowell's the only intellectual with the courage to go after like these core issues of why Black America has fallen behind and why no one actually has studied it. So let's just give a great example. When you don't have a father in the home, the amount of words that a child hears goes down by 60 to 70%. The amount of words that a child, I don't know if you're a mother or not, or plan to be. Okay. No, just it's an important point. The amount of words that an 18-month-year-old hears is highly predictive of IQ, verbal development. Okay, so that's simple. When you don't have a dad in the home, the mom is overwhelmed and there's just less interaction with the child.
That's all fine.
Okay, so we agree. I'm just saying that's not because of racism.
That's true. Obviously,
No, that's fine.
That's good.
No, she. I know what you meant. But you have a father in the home. All of a sudden, they hear thousands of more words a day, and they're like way further ahead of a single mother raising a child. That's not racism.
Okay, so dads are good. Yes, great.
Okay,
what my question
I'm
to
saying
you
dads.
is,
Okay, yeah, she's not. She gets it, but her reaction tells me everything. It's not just that dads are good. It literally makes a huge, significant difference, right? That's what Charlie's trying to explain to her, right? So it has nothing to do with your color of your skin, right? My brown skin has literally, I'm actually a pretty good example, right? I've done pretty all right for myself at the age of 28, right? It has nothing to do with my skin, right? But a lot more to do with having a father in the household. I could say that for Timothy, right? I'm just making up a random name just so you understand where I'm coming from, right? Who has a father in the household. Same thing with him. But maybe Steve or whoever may not have a father in the household, right? So maybe he's not as well off because he didn't get that discipline, right? Because he didn't get all of the things. It's not just discipline, by the way. It's a lot of other attributes that you develop that you're able to learn through having a father in the household or a father figure, right? I know could be a sensitive topic for some people, but I just want to be honest with you guys and here and share that with you because I agree with what Charlie's saying. It has nothing to do with my color. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Back to the video.
Actually answer most of the questions that you might have about why Black America is falling behind.
okay, but
Because their dads don't stay around, and that's
I'm trying
bad.
to sort of get to
Go
you
ahead.
to reconcile your own beliefs. And if that's true, which is fine, that's true. We can say that's true. You either believe that has social and economic causes, or you believe that, Black culture is just worse.
No,
and there
I
isn't
think
another
that
thing to think.
No, I
Those
was
are your
very
options.
clear. Right now, Black culture is being held captive by influences, songs,
Which
and role models.
influences?
I mean, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B.
Okay, Nicki Minaj is causing dads to leave the home.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's a good role model for 18-year-old Black girls. I don't think that songs that are talking about like glorifying wet female genitalia is exactly. I don't know which one wrote that song. Which one was it?
I think it was Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but but by the way, the role models of the 1940s and 50s for Black America were completely different.
So it is a representation issue.
Hold on a second. No, not representation.
All right, guys, real quick. I want to tell you about something that I'm really excited to launch for you guys, and that I'm launching literally immediately, right? Should be available while you're watching this video, okay? It's called Top Tier. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for the support that I've received just through this channel. It's been literally amazing, okay? We're already at 30,000 subscribers. We just started this channel. I cannot believe it, okay? So as you guys know, you guys have not yet seen me take on one sponsorship, okay? As you can imagine, right? And not to say we haven't had opportunities, but I think it's important to stand on business and stand on our beliefs. So what I did instead, that will help out greatly. You don't have to do it, but we do have what's called Top Tier, okay, where you guys could sign up for it's only $2. It's $2, right? And really all it's going to do is, it's going to help support the channel. It's going to help support our movement. We look to expand this movement bigger and bigger as we take out wokeness, okay? Because somebody's got to do it, right? It's cool that Elon Musk talked about it and love, the guy's great. awesome. We're actually doing the work. Okay. So we would definitely love for you guys to support us. You don't have to, but it's $2 a month. And basically, so I personally will reply to you. Okay. If you leave a comment, I will reply to you if you ask me a question or something like that. All right. As you can imagine, I will get a good amount. We do get a good amount of comments. So it helps with that. Also, like I said, you guys are help supporting us. And a lot of that's going to go to expanding this movement like we're looking to do. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to tell you guys about that real quick, but back to the video.
It's who do you get your art from? It's what values are they putting forward? It's the question of every day, for example, more times than not, black politicians will lament the condition of America. It's systemically racist. It's terrible. What does that do to a 14-year-old black kid if you just find that you hear that everything is rigged against you? Instead, they should be saying, hey, there might be some barriers, but if you believe in yourself enough, you can achieve in this country. It creates a form of social conditioning of low expectations. And that's not my argument. You know whose argument that is? Barack Obama's.
I don't necessarily agree with everything you said either, man.
Barack Obama said, number one, we need more fathers in the home. This is when Barack Obama didn't go super woke.
Barack Obama's a liberal. I don't care what he's got to say.
Okay, but Barack Obama, then secondly, he said that we can't keep telling our black youth that you can't succeed in this country. Anybody can succeed in this country. And Obama was right when he said that. Obama was correct when he said that we need to change the story we're telling black America.
1000% Obama was right. 1000%. You could love him, you could hate him, however you feel about Obama. He hit the nail on it, right? He understood that. At least, right? Yeah. Shout out to Obama. Shout out to President Obama. Back to the video.
Of all the propaganda saying it's systemically racist, you're going to run into racist employers, that they're going to discriminate against you. It creates this heaviness of why even try.
By the time college students get to college, they've experienced all that. They don't need to be told.
You think that the average? I'm curious. You think that the average black student at this university experiences like active daily racism? I'd be curious.
I'd have to ask. You can ask him to raise their hand.
I don't know. Maybe it's true. Maybe it's as bad as it was in the antebellum South. So
no, it's not, Charlie. It's not. We know that, guys. All right, come on. Let's. All right. So I'm gonna end it there. Yeah, she knows that's not true. She just doesn't want to say it because right. But for the most part. And no knock on her. She had some good points. Charlie had some really good points. But ultimately, I voiced my opinion throughout the video. You guys already know where I stand on this thing, okay? So look, enough about me. Let me know where you stand, okay? Do you believe more so what this young lady's saying, or do you really side with more of what Charlie Kirk is saying, where, look, we need the fathers in the household. It's not really just about the color, right? So her angle was more of, the systemic inequalities that's happened to my people, right? And absolutely, I hear that point. I 100% hear that point, and I have actually dealt with racism before. So I super hear that point. But, Charlie was speaking about, it's not about just color, though. It's really about, again, having the father figure in the household. So, which in our community, I mean, he's not wrong. It doesn't take, rocket science to figure that one out, right? And it's obviously it's not something that I'm even proud of. I hope that we fix that, right? More fathers start taking responsibility, okay, of their child, right? And going from there. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I get active in those comments, all right? All right, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you slap the like button and kick the subscribe button for more. Until next time, peace.